Hey everybody, uh, Chomsky here, After Dark. Just wanted to go over a little video about Tramaria. I pulled her about 2 weeks ago during the first Void event for Solarna that I struck out on. Uh, Not cool, kind of bitter, but whatever. Uh, Anyhow, I I haven't seen much about Tramaria, so I was like, hey, let me just do a quick little video on her. And see if maybe she could get dusted off of anyone's vault and stuff like that and maybe get some use out of her. So I have a few different builds here, but they really just go around feral and protection. So right now I get the Journal of the Journal on her, just because the turn meter increase to allies are boosted by 15%. I also have the gemstone that her accuracy increases by 5 whenever an enemy resists a debuff. So it goes up to 40 just to get a little bit more accuracy. Right now, I have her at 60,000 HP. She is a wet noodle. I'm not really keeping her for attack. Her defense is at 2,900. Speed, which is something I really kind of heavily favored, is at 334. Crit rate and crit damage, whatever. Uh, on this first build, the resistance is kind of poor at 229, and then her accuracy is pretty low at 329. So she's not fully mastered. I'm going to get there. Right now, I'm kind of stuck. So eventually I'm going to go over to delay death, and then I want to put in leeched for harvest despair. Okay, and then potentially toss in deterrence. If I go down this route, I need more I need more resistance. Um, she's not going to get like she's not going to get stunned or feared because of her passive, which I'm going to go to in a second. But I do want her to attack. Now the tricky thing with that is I need more accuracy for her to be at what is that again? 329. That's really low. We're getting a lot of champs out there with like 400 and 500 resistance. So I kind of want to match that as much as I can. At 329 accuracy, that's a slippery slope right there. So I can get a little bit more, but not enough. So either I can go accuracy on her build or more resistance. So let's go back. Let's talk about her kit. She's not booked. Uh, it's CVC right now. It's a non-PR, so really there's no motivation to do it outside of just burning books, and I don't want to do that. Her A1, it's an AOE, puts out there a decreased speed. It's a 70% chance of a 30% decreased speed, a big one. Also has a 50% chance of placing fear on enemies with 50% or less turn meter. So I really want to go. I want to go first as much as I can, uh, all the time. I want my stuff to hit. You know, I don't like go second teams, but this one could kind of work in a go second team just because you want to kind of shave off that first round of stone skin and have her go a little bit behind them. Just this way you could put a fear out there. So her at let's call it 330 is fine because I'm expecting 400s and 380s and stuff like that. And for her to come in and basically do a fear on there, that's pretty sweet. Fear is nice just because it's a coin flip on whether or not their skill works. And for her, it's one of those luck champions. Her A2 is kind of cool. She another AOE has a 100% chance of placing a stun when she gets booked on a 4-turn cooldown. After attacking, it has an 80% chance that goes to 100% of decreasing each enemy's turn meter by 30%. A big boy. So, all right, you're putting out there a stun, and then you're decreasing their turn meters this way. They may get another shot or two, and that's all right, man. Again, really weak of an attack. I'm not really counting on that. I'm really just having her wanting to place a stun, potentially a fear. I decrease that speed. I don't care about attack with her. She is truly a support. So this way my other baddies could get in there and do some damage. Uh, A3. This is the fun one. She's removing all debuffs from all allies. Then she's filling their turn meter by 15%. She also places a block debuff on all allies for 2 turns. Then she also fills the turn meter of each ally by a further 10% for every fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, stun, or petrification removed. Then she could also fill the turn meter of each ally a further 5% for each debuff removed. So we're talking about decreased attack, poisons, HP burn, you know, decreased defense. Like all those could be wiped, and potentially that dude on our team can go on a 3 turn cooldown. Like, all right, that like talking about just as a cleanser, that's huge. Unfortunately, there's no heal over here, which would make her absolutely ridiculous. In which I think she's been buffed once before, so this could really if this had a heal component, I think we'd be seeing her a lot often. But as of right now, it's just a cleanse with a block debuff. Uh, and then filling the turn meter, which is why I got the journal on her. Uh, Pretty cool. If you're not building your champs with a lot of resistance, and they get a lot of debuffs, she could definitely help. And then her passive, she's immune to sleep, stun, freeze, fear, and true fear. Fills this champion's turn meter by a fifth whenever an enemy tries to place fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, stun, or petrification. All right, cool. We have a few freeze champs out there that kind of are getting into the meta, right? We got Cernic and Noel. We got Tormund. We got Supreme Aethel, who I just started messing around with again. Like, we got some freeze champs. Uh, we got, I mean, we still have Marius and some stuff. And, Marius gets stunned in addition to wipe away everybody, but also just talking about stun. So to go up by a fifth and then potentially get into beyond emotions to just like wipe everybody away and then fill their turn meter, like, okay, there's some synergy here, So I don't think she's that bad when it comes to having her as a counter to some of those Noel teams, but she's not really taking up she's taking up a valuable real estate spot where she's not going to be dealing that much damage. You're really needing her to be highly resistant, highly accurate, as well as fast. So, they're like those are the three mainstays with her, and I would much rather have my good gear on like a damage dealer or something, or somebody that does a jack of all trades that does basically everything. Thinking about a Mithrala, for instance, where there's a cleanse with a heal, a shield, and then the potential damage with hex and poison. I think has a lot more utility than Tramaria, where she's really just stunning and then placing a decreased speed with a potential very niche fear. Eeh. You know, the black debuff move is pretty solid. It's just there's no heal, which is unfortunate. She does have a 23% speed in all battle aura, and I don't have a blessing on her, but if I did, I'd have a hard time picking. Like, do I do lightning cage just to protect the black debuffs? Um, could I do brimstone just for a tickle of damage? You know, maybe like she's not really doing too much. We could do a nature's wrath, but she's not doing a lot of damage. So why would you? Um, yeah, I would think either lightning cage, maybe even commanding presence. Just to yeah, just to help out our aura. Like it's slim pickings for sure. So as I said, I have her so far in this build, and with masteries like this, don't know if I want to do resistance or accuracy. It's really kind of up in the air for me, but that's only because I don't have a lot of accuracy or resistance here. And as I prefaced before, I have some other presets here. So the first one I did, I had a little bit lower speed but more accuracy, a little bit more HP and a little bit more defense. So if I really wanted to go faster, I would do that first one, my base, which is this. Uh, this one is really, I'm not really too heartbroken about it. Like I'm taking stuff off of Lydia and then Ziklik and then, Fabian. But, to go 290 and not have Stone Skin or anything out there protecting me, I when it comes down to PvP, I get really kind of worried about that. So I may not go with that. The other alternative here that I was thinking about was a protection set. She'd be a little bit faster. She'd have a little bit more HP. She'd lose accuracy. She'd gain a very minute amount of resistance. Um, so it's not necessarily that awesome. It's I really kind of want to ramp up the resistance in that build. Even though it's a protection build, I still want to make sure that stuff doesn't get stripped on me. Protection's taking care of the buffs that I place. So it's it's not that great. When I go to my fourth build here, I definitely ramp up resistance. My HP is a little bit low. My defense is moderately low. I my speed is kind of much not changed too much, and then I gain a boatload more resistance. And I was definitely leaning into this because this is just found gear. I'm not really using this anywhere. So it's one of those things. I'm protecting the block debuffs and that's fine for the most part. But is that enough? Like if there was more synergy elsewhere, I think that she would be a really good champ. You know, when people do their rankings and their ratings, Tramaria is not that high, and it's for a good reason. I mean, just for a cleanse, albeit with a lot of turn meter, just doesn't really carry too much water these days. We really want a champ that could be focused in a lot as well as do some punishment. And Tramaria doesn't do a lot with the attacks. You could put her in like some of the more interesting like set pieces, like a stun set. I wouldn't do provoke, but definitely a stun set just because you're going to be highly accurate anyways. She has that A2 that does allow her to stun people, but having a decreased speed and a stun with a stun set on an A1 with a potential fear, that's a bunch of crowd control right there. That would be awesome. So, if you're doing some stuff in like Grim Forest that needs it, I'm thinking about that one chaotic level, like the last five bosses in Grim Forest, or the last secret stage that opens up, and you have to deal with Marishka and Terrace. It'd be cool just to keep that stun, honestly, over and over and over again on Terrace. This way you could finish that out. So she could be really useful there. Uh, Doom Tower would be another place. Faction War's hard. Like I had a hard time with Night. This is Dark Elves. I had a hard time with Night Revs earlier today, but Dark Elves would be really awesome. Just to do all that crowd control. Albeit when it comes down to boss, that's rough. But this is where her A3 comes into play. So there's definitely a spot for her in PVE. Um, a lot of people are focused on PvP, and I totally get it. With the the new gear sets that are coming out and it being kind of gate kept. Like, yeah, makes sense. We want to get towards there and all that. So, yay, you pull Tramaria. Just don't know where you're going to use her. Additionally, to empower, I think she empowers someone here. She empowers Blade Master. So yeah, you're gonna hang on. You're gonna hang on to Tramaria. Blade Master is okay in his own right, but I don't really see anybody clamoring to get a +4 Blade Master. So yeah, congratulations, you got Tramaria. Let me know where you use her, if at all, because I just like knowing. but but yeah, congratulations, you got her. I hope you're having fun with her. Uh, you know, I sold a 6-star blessing. Uh, Frankly, I'm not really hurting on that. So yeah, I think she could be a fun champ just to mess around with, but she's not going to be a mainstay. So on a Chomsky level, my rating on her would most likely be a B minus, just because I expect better. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Take care.